Hello again guys, and welcome back to another Big L Devlin video, and today we're going to continue our discussion on paganism, looking at the topic of mortality in the Norse pagan gods. As this is an area really where the Norse Pantheon, if you wish, of gods are quite unique. Most gods in modern religions, but also in older religions, also in belief systems, most of the time are immortal. In almost every sense of the word, they do not age, they do not grow old, they do not go frail with age, and they are, if not invulnerable, damn well close to it at least anyway, to damage and of course death through external means. And there are two major concepts that are the root of almost all beliefs within Norse polytheism. And those two themes, if you wish, or concepts, are fate and the idea that everything one day must come to an end. Everything must die. Be it man, God, or even the cosmos itself. And ultimately, those two concepts are not in exclusion or in isolation to one another. In fact, they are heavily linked. The fact that everything must die is really dictated by fate itself. But fate only exists in essence if something has a finite lifespan. If you don't have a beginning and an end, then fate really fades into insignificance. And even though it is the experiences we have in life, the experiences we learn from and develop an understanding of the world around us that really then come to define who we are. Our actions and our reactions to these experiences are really our dialogue, the story and the echo that we leave behind when we leave this world. Without reference points, i.e. a beginning and end, then these experiences simply lose their value. And so we find that the Norse gods are, as are we, mortal. They come into existence, they live, they learn, but eventually they will die. And so we find that the Norse gods are quite active in their lives. They strive to make most of the finite time they have, as of course do most mortals, when they certainly appreciate the value of mortality. If, for example, we look at Odin, he dedicates all his time fanatically to the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge. Thor is known for his great ability to smite his foes. Whereas of course some of the gods just simply try to live a quiet and somewhat enjoyable life. Peaceful until of course the end one day comes. Now how do we know that the gods are indeed mortal? Well, there are some stories within the Eddas and some surviving stories passed down in oral tradition that describe certain situations where the god's mortality is of course displayed. Of course, we're talking beyond that of Ragnarok itself, the apocalypse, the destruction and uncreation, if you wish, of all creation. And perhaps the least known of those stories, although in my opinion one of the most interesting ones, is that of the goddess Idon, found within the poetic Edda poem Lökasina, and in the later poem Fragnagaudir Odins. Idun was a fertility goddess, and as such most likely that of the Vanenheim, as of course were all of the fertility gods and goddesses. And her name really gives a clue as to really what she was about. Her name translates into a numerous different iterations, varying from the rejuvenating one, the rejuvenator, and of course the ever young. And these are names well earned, for Idun was the sole god or goddess to possess the secret to eternal youth. And we see in one of the stories Idon being kidnapped and taken away by a giant called Freya. And it is at this point that we see the true mortality of the gods of the Aesir tribe, as without Idon and the gifts that she can give through the fruit that she enchants, we see the gods age and become frail and ill with that age, ultimately almost dying until, of course, Idon is returned to them and can give them her blessings of youth and virility. What is most interesting of this story is that most people, when they hear this story, believe that it is the apples that Idon grows within her orchards that give the gods their eternal youth and eternal health. But in fact, when Idon is stolen, is kidnapped and taken away by the giant Freya, the gods age regardless, despite the orchards of course being left behind, despite having access to the fruits that Idon grows. They still continue to age, and so it is Idon herself and the powers within her and the secrets and knowledge that she has that brings the eternal youth that we see within the Norse Pantheon. And without Idon, the gods would indeed grow old and die of old age. Perhaps, of course, this is what happened to Odin's father and grandfather, who we no longer see really beyond their early references. So perhaps Idon came to the gods of the Aesir tribe after they had already died. And of course, Odin is quite often represented as an old man. And so perhaps Idon was only able to give her blessings to the Aesir tribe and to Odin himself later in his life. Now, of course, outside of the deaths of gods that occur within Ragnarok, we also see the deaths of Baldur and his brother Hodr. Both Baldur and Hodr were sons of Odin, and Baldur was killed as a result of one of Loki's trickeries. Baldur was so loved and admired that ultimately everything within the world and existence promised to never harm him. And so, in jest, after these promises were made, the gods began to throw things in Baldur to show that he could not be hurt, he could not be harmed anymore by anything, as everything had indeed taken this solemn promise. However, there was one thing that did not take this promise: mistletoe. And so Loki carved from a bough of mistletoe a spear and gave it to Baldur's blind brother Hodr. Of course, Hodr, being blind, did not know that he held within his hand the one and only thing that would indeed harm and kill Baldur. And when he cast the spear at Baldur, he gave a killing blow. Hodr's death would come much later, a planned death orchestrated through the wisdom of Odin himself. Odin, following the death of Baldur, went and raped Rindir, who bore him a son called Vali. Vali would then later, when come of age, would kill Hod. And so Odin, years and years later, following Baldur's death, avenged the death of his most loved son. However, when the gods die, prior to Ragnarok, where there is utter destruction of everything, including the realms themselves, the gods die in many ways in a similar manner to mortals, in the sense that they simply move on to another realm. In this case, Baldur, when killed, found himself now descending, if you wish, although I don't like that term within Norse paganism because there is no real hierarchy of realms in my personal opinion, but nonetheless he descended or found himself now existing solely within the realm of hell. Banished, if you wish, from the realms of Asgard, the heavens as most people would of course see it. And so As a side note, when we consider the mortality of gods, it is interesting to show that, of course, spirits themselves can, of course, die. And this does not apply simply to that of the gods. It also applies to mortals. When a mortal dies in this realm, the realm of Midgard, we pass on into the spirit realm. But we can also, of course, perish and die within the realm of the dead also. And in fact, just like the gods, when I described the role of Idon in maintaining their youth and virility and health, our spirits within the other realm also indeed age. However, the fruits of Idon, if you wish, are found growing freely within the realm of hell. And it is described within the Eddas how the spirits of the dead feast upon these fruits and thus remain eternally young, or at least young until Ragnarok occurs. However, at Ragnarok, which is, as I say, the ultimate destruction of all creation, we see the final aspect of Norse paganism that is as crucial to our belief systems as fate and the inevitability of death, and that is the process of rebirth. Now, this is not reincarnation or resurrection or anything along those lines. Ultimately, at the end, everything is destroyed. Everything is turned to ash, in essence, by Sutra. And it's from this ash that a new world, a new cosmos, is born again. But life always blossoms from death. And really, that is the true core principle of paganism. Life, in that way, just as death is also, creation and destruction are all eternal. Right guys, that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making it. And I would like to thank, before I move on to other things, Babazuka Boy, who actually inspired me to make this video through discussing with me these various concepts along with other concepts of paganism within the comment sections of some of my videos. What I would like to do is, as I say, thank him firstly, but also encourage the rest of you that if there are any concepts within paganism, any ideas, any stories, anything really whatsoever that you want to discuss or want me to cover in a video, please just throw them in the comment section. And also, now that my channel's big enough, I now have a community section on my channel, and what I'll do is I'll post up there every now and then a photo related to some kind of, you know, pagan deity or whatever, and on there feel free to put up as many comments as you want, giving me ideas for any video content that you may want me to cover. This is a community, guys. As far as I'm concerned, this is part of our online community to bring together like-minded individuals who have similar, not identical, but similar ideas on the way the world works and the way that the world after this world also, of course, works. So get involved, guys. I really look forward to hearing from you. It's my favourite part of YouTube, discussing things with you and having that community aspect. And I will see you soon. I haven't done any pagan videos for a while, so this is the first in, you know, quite a long time, but it is something obviously that will be a lifelong pursuit. So in the meantime, guys, ta-ta, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.